We believe that wealth is a journey, and that this is your jumpstart to trading success.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Trader's Mind Chat show, where we believe that wealth is a journey and that this is your jumpstart to trading success. I'm Mike.
And I'm Melissa, and we have an awesome show planned for you guys today. We have Moritz Czubatinski, who is the co-founder of Trade Society, Pattern Alpha, and Edgewong Trading Journal. Wow, oh my god, this guy has such an amazing resume. He's been trading for 10 years as a day trader, and he trades forex and some commodities and index CFDs. He was also a professional poker player and now is living in Hong Kong. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, he's a real interesting guy. Moritz and I have known each other for a few years now, and thrilled to finally have him on the show.
Yeah, so the purpose of our show today is to talk about clarity now and the future of trading. And I think clarity is a big topic. A lot of traders struggle with this, figuring out their why. And I wanted to check with you, Mike, as to find out how you developed your why or figured out your why, and how was that journey?
Well, I think that it's not like developing a why. I think that it's more about like just asking yourself, like, why are you even interested in doing this? And the first answer that normally comes up for people, well, like, I want to get rich, I want financial freedom, I want the house, the car, the vacations, first class, right? Like all that kind of stuff that like kind of gets peddled around trading, but then to go deeper into it and say, like, well, if I'm interested in those things, well, why am I interested in being financially free? Well, why am I interested? Because you don't really care about having a bunch of paper with dead presidents on it, right? Like it's well, what you're able to do with it. So digging a little bit deeper and asking yourself, why am I interested in accumulating this wealth? Well, what is it that I'm really after? Some people will find that they are interested in more time, right? Like more time with family, more time pursuing other interests.
So you hear that so often by people saying that they just don't have enough time to do X, Y, and Z. I think that's a huge problem for a lot of people, especially here in America.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take that a step further. So let's say you're watching this and you want more time. Then when you start to think about, well, what kind of a trading system, trading methodology do I want? You're going to want something that doesn't require a ton of your time to execute, right? Like, so somebody that, like, if that's you probably wouldn't be as interested in being a day trader that requires more time in front of the screen. You might be more interested in swing trading or maybe even something longer term. But it's also figuring out, well, what is the end goal, right? Because what we want to figure out, well, what do we want? Why do we want it? And how can we execute well in order to get to where it is that we want to go? When we find that cross section, that's going to be where we want to place our focus.
I think that's so true, and I think part of it also comes down to what is it that I want to use that time and do? Do I want more time with my family? Is it more time to travel? I think that that's imperative too, because if you are stuck at a job that you hate and you're miserable, and you just when you get home you're just so tired, you don't have the time to do the things you actually love to do, then I think that that's a clear indication that something needs to change.
Yeah. If you're not happy, you're not going to be able to trade well, at least not over the long term. Your mindset, your how you feel, your emotions play heavily into this game. And if you are in a negative state, then fixing and working on what's putting you into that negative state will actually end up helping your performance.
So for your journey, like when you first started, what made you even want to get into trading, and how did you develop your why along the way, and did it change over the years?
Yeah, it definitely changed over the years, but it, originally, just like most people, you get into the game because you want money, and then, well, why am I interested in money? Well, financial freedom, and having grown up in poverty, uh, like and seeing that, not wanting to go back to a situation where having to live out of a motel or with uh, future family and children, ever having to put them through that. So
And you were a young boy when that happened, when you were living in
yeah,
poverty.
yeah. That was when I was 6 years old. But not wanting to have to relive that, and so having an understanding of the market would help to never have to do that, right? Because if the market is this wealth generating machine, and I was able to figure out, well, how can I get a piece of that and turn it into this money tree that's just going to keep on delivering fruit for a lifetime, then that would be something that I would never have to worry about, and future family then back then would never have to worry about
I was
either.
gonna say, what do you call me?
Yeah. So that was the motivation back
This is
then.
when you first started
Yeah, well, when I
training,
first
yes.
started.
And that's a
getting
strong
into it.
motivator. I think for a lot of us, we may not have such a drastic story of like you did, like living in poverty. Like these motivators could be very different, but it all comes down to the same: was that you want to build that financial freedom to do the things you really want to do.
Right, and if that was the only motivator, if it was just like getting money, well, there's a lot of ways to make money, right? Like you don't have to trade in order to make money. You get a job, build businesses, like real estate, selling things, like that. There's a billion ways to make money. Now with internet and YouTube and being an influencer, or like all these different things, like there's so many ways to make money. Like it
TikTok
doesn't.
dancer.
Yeah, you could be a TikTok dancer. So loads of ways to make money, but it's finding like what you enjoy. And so when I initially found trading like over 20 years ago, it was just something that seemed very interesting to me. And like it was almost like a giant chess game, where you're trying to figure out like, well, why are prices moving in this way, in such a dramatic way, and are you able to time it? What's the amount of time to put in? How much capital should you be putting in? Like, should you be going all in on an idea? Should you be kind of scaling it? Like, well, like all these different things, all these different questions, and it was that just started to become like a game, like a giant puzzle to solve. So it was also a cross section of like, what do I really enjoy, and something that's going to be financially rewarding, and that ended up being the market.
It's interesting that you mentioned a chess game, because I know you did play chess, and you actually had started a chess tournament at one of the hospitals you worked at in New York City.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I think it's so interesting that you have that parallel. And now talking to Moritz today, who was a professional poker player, there might be certain skills within those games that you see in trading, and maybe there is some sort of parallel.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Like the strategy, being able to think a few steps ahead, having a contingency plans, right? Like those things are very useful in trading. They're useful in many aspects of life too.
Yeah, no, I just watched the Netflix show The Queen's Gambit, which was incredible, by the way. Like, everybody should watch this show. But it's a fictional story about a young girl chess prodigy, I guess similar to Bobby Fischer.
Oh, okay.
So, and it goes into the whole story about how she was in this orphanage, and she learned playing chess, and she would just see the chess players like as she was dreaming, in the sky, or like she would be able to foresee it and see the plays, and she would map out all the different plays in her mind of how she can get out or win and defeat her opponent. So I think that that was just a great way to kind of see like that kind of focus really helped her develop her skills as she was ended up becoming one of the champions. But I think that this is such an interesting story about focus and clarity. Like once you know, like that was what she wanted. She wanted to become the world champion chess player in this story. And for you, if you whatever it is, whether it's trading, building a business, or whatever the case is, having that focus will help you get there.
Yeah,
And having that clarity of what it is that you want and being able to visualize it and see that it can happen for you.
and another thing, well, with focus and clarity is the sacrifice that it takes, right? Because if you're focusing on one thing, by definition, you are not focusing on 20 things, right? Like you're focusing on one thing, and when you're focusing that intently on this one thing, that's where it's almost like a lot of pressure, like on this one thing. Like that's like how diamonds are formed, right? Like it's just this focus on this one point until the diamond is formed. For us, like that's yeah. I think that focus on trading or focus on anything is what's going to yield the result.
So for you, I know when you had first started, though, you didn't focus on trading 100%. Do you think you could have gotten to where you are now if you had put in that focus? Because for some people, like they're not able to quit their jobs today. They do have a family that takes priority right now to then going all in for trading. Is there still ways that you
Like,
can develop those skills, but doing it
yeah, well, like
on the
so by focus, it's not where you completely sacrifice everything, right? Like you could also chunk your time, right? So if you
How
are,
do you do that?
so you can chunk your time by saying that, okay, looking at your calendar and saying that I want to get good at trading, right? But I also have a day job, let's say. I also have a family life. I have X, Y, and Z hobbies. And now I also have trading. So we all have the same 24 hours in the day. What slice am I going to give to this new skill that I want to develop? Am I able to give a certain number of hours each day? Is it going to be a certain number of hours each week? How do I want to structure my time? So it's what I would say is to first gain clarity on, you've already gained clarity that you are pursuing trading. Now your next step is to figure out how am I going to develop this skill, and gaining awareness of your days and your weeks to where this block of time is going to be dedicated to learning the skill, then you're able to focus more during that time. So you've got, say, 2 or 3 hours on a weekend. Great. I'm going to schedule it on my calendar, and that's sacred time. Like you're telling yourself, who if you have a family or other people that you're living with or that need to know that, hey, I'm focusing on this at this specific time, then let them know.
Yeah, and if you are really passionate about something, or if you really believe strongly in this, you need to make sure that you have a team on your side that is, like you said, being able to tell the people that you live with that this is a priority for me. Like today, like doing this show, it's during winter break. Our daughter, who is 5, is home from school, and so there's no way that we could have had this show with a 5-year-old running in and out, saying that she wants to watch.
So shout out to the in-laws.
So I had to coordinate with my parents. Say, look, this is important. We need to, film the show. Can you watch her for the day? And they said, yeah. So we're very fortunate to have that kind of help. But this is just an example that whether it's writing, trading, building a new skill, that if, there are resources out there that can help you, and you need to be the one to be proactive and take action to make it happen for yourself. No one else is going to do it for you. Like you need to take that first step.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with that, we cannot wait to have Moritz on our show. He's going to be joining us in just a minute, right after this word from our sponsor.
The sponsor of today's show is Edgewonk. Edgewonk is a trading journal developed by professional traders. I've been using Edgewonk for the past year, and I can't say enough good things about this product. It helps you keep your trades organized and provides actionable tips so that you can immediately make changes to improve the way that you are trading. Check it out for yourself at edgewonk.com and use coupon code MARA to get a discount. Welcome everybody to the Traders MindChat show. Today we have Moritz Czubatinski with us. Today he is the co-founder of Tradeciety, Pattern Alpha, and the Edgewonk Trading Journal. Man does it all. He's been trading for 10 years as a day trader. He trades Forex and has some commodity index and CFDs. Previously, he was a poker player, and now he currently lives in Hong Kong. Moritz, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Great for having me. Thanks, man.
So, the first question that I have for you is, how did you transition from being a professional poker player to trading? What was that like? And were there any skills that you acquired from being a professional poker player that helped you transition into trading?
Yeah, it was mostly psychological, obviously, and position sizing. So risk management, psychology, they are very, very similar in poker and trading. The transition happened because there was an event called Black Friday back then, and there were some online poker sites that got indicted by the DOJ for money laundering and stuff like that. So they froze their users' accounts, including mine, and suddenly I was left without a job. So yeah, I thought, okay, in the future I want to work in a more regulated industry. And that's how I was looking for basically other ways to apply my skill set that I acquired in poker with a lot of hard work and sweat. And so I found trading via that. And then it started with Google, like, how do I learn trading? That's how it started. It's hilarious, yeah. And then I'm basically 100% self-taught, obviously with books and some video classes in the beginning. But yeah, and it took me a relatively short amount of time to become a break-even trader and then also a profitable trader, because I had those risk management in place, I had the psychology in place, and I had the discipline to improve myself and track my trades and everything. All of that came from poker already. So yeah.
How long did it take you?
Roughly 2 years.
2 years to get to being a break-even trader and then to consistently profitable?
Yeah, break-even was not a long phase. It was 6 months. So for the first year, I was consistently losing. Then I was losing slower. Then I was break-even for a bit, and then I started making some money, and then it got better and better from there.
And so what allowed you to persevere, like when you were still like in that beginning phase and just like, oh man, I'm losing, like a lot of people tend to fall off at that stage. Well, what gave you the perseverance to keep going?
Well, firstly, I hated my day job. So the first motivation was really freedom. I wanted to get out of the rat race. It was my personal nightmare to work in. I was working for a big corporation in China at the time, a German corporation in China in automotive, and I hated it a lot. So every evening I came home and I worked on my trading 4, 5, 6 hours. And that's what really gave me the boost in the beginning and the purpose to really see it through. And after that, after I quit my job, then obviously that motivation disappears. And then you have to find a new motivation, a new drive to keep you through the ups and downs of trading, which the next drawdown is going to come. And you need a reason to go through with it, right? And stick with your system and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that you mentioned right off the bat was that the mindset from poker helped make things a little bit easier. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, well, what is a poker mindset?
Thinking in expected value, for example. basically saying that, okay, if I repeat that bet a million times, would I make money or lose money? That's the mindset shift you need, obviously, and simply knowing that even if you do everything right, you can still lose money, but over the long run, it's going to even out. I think that's the hardest hurdle a lot of people have to get over when they get into any kind of betting, be it sports betting, poker, trading. It's always the same principle. You can do everything right and still lose money in the short term. Once you get over that, everything starts making sense and falls into place, I think. So that mindset helped a lot. And then, of course, also those nights where you lost, I don't know, when your bankroll was 50,000 US, and then you had that crazy game where you lost 10,000 in a night, like 20% drawdown or so, and not being able to sleep, and then next morning you get up and you're like, what the hell happened yesterday? I didn't even recognize myself, and all that crazy stuff that comes as soon as the money is on the line. That's just something you have to learn through experience, right?
It sounds a lot like trading, to be honest.
It's the same. It's pretty much the same, yeah.
So how did you get that mindset for poker originally, right? Well, what was that like?
Well, in the beginning, I had no clue, of course. It was hilarious because I was a complete beginner when I got into the poker world, and back then you got $53 from a poker site to play on a brokerage, basically poker brokerage, right? And they gave me that $50, and I quickly turned that into $10,000 which is a ridiculous percentage return. And even though I was I had no clue what I was doing basically, and it was hilarious luck. And then for 1 year I didn't make any money, and I was like, okay, what the hell is going on here? Because you feel like you're the king of the world, and then you feel like nothing ever goes your way. And that's when I started looking into obviously developing as a player, but also working with poker coaches, Jared Tendler, for example. There are some great psychology books in poker that really, really help a lot. Also great for traders, I think. And that's how you grow. Well, everything by Jared Tendler is really good. Then Tommy Angelo, a great author. Some old school books like from Doyle Brunson, Winning Play with Super System. Yes, those are great books.
Moritz, you mentioned like we had that earlier success, which just took like $50 to 10,000, you said? Like with beginners, like I feel like traders deal with this too, because we were just talking to somebody else who said the same thing. Like in college, he was trading and he saw this initial success and he was like, I got this trading thing. It's so easy. And then they lost everything. Do you feel like a lot of traders fall into that same trap from that initial beginner's luck?
I think it's the worst that can happen to you as a trader when you start out is that you make money right off the bat, because it takes very long to get out of that mindset after that, to think that you are special and you kind of like you're natural in the game and you can just wing it, look at a chart, buy a sell, and money comes from everywhere. And I think a lot of people right now are in this situation in the crypto markets. And the awakening is going to come sooner or later. The rough awakening is going to come. And then it simply is a matter of, are you going to stick with it and really learn the craft? Or are you going to say, okay, I got lucky once and I'm going to leave it at that, right?
How do you think that there's a way that if you are already in the mindset that, man, money's coming to me, it's so easy, like look at this, I just bought Bitcoin and it's up 150% in a month or two. I bought Doggy Coin and that one's up like 100% in a day. Like, how do you reach those people with this kind of message to help them avoid blowing up? Like, is there a way to do it? Or is it just one of those things that they'll have to experience for themselves the hard way?
I think that's one of the main reasons why you cannot teach trading in a month or two is because people really have to go through those market regimes and experience it for themselves. I think there's no better teacher than just that. And if you start trading in the bull market and you have never seen a bear market, you're just not going to believe anyone saying, yo, this is going to end someday, you know. You just won't believe them. There's no way. I don't think you can get through anyone. I mean, you can warn them and then say, "Oh, I told you," when they're broke. Um, but but it's just really hard to get through to someone. Yeah.
Earlier too, you mentioned position sizing as
Yeah.
being a key component to success, longevity in this game, and also applying it from poker to trading. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, of course, everyone wants to go big because no one ever thinks they lose. So
Yeah. Go big or stay home.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you don't think you're ever gonna lose 2 or 3 trades in a row, maybe sometimes one, okay. Obviously you can bet big, 5, 6, 10% on a single trade, and obviously that's always gonna end in a blow up. So then you have to go smaller and smaller in your position size. And what I have found for me, as a day trader, for example, the ideal position size is 0.2%, 0.25% on any given trade, because then I can be down 5, sometimes even 10 R in a day. That's 2% loss is not that bad. I can get up the next day and make those 10 R back. On a good day, I can make 20. So that's not a problem. But if I'm down 10% in a day, ouch! Like I'm not gonna get up the next day that easily. And I think the upside is never worth the downside. So that's just one of those really important things that people have to get. Once your emotional capital is used up because you have those huge swings in your equity curve, it's going to be really hard for you to get back in the saddle and play your A game. So I think focusing on protecting a downside, like single-digit drawdowns maximum, and is really imperative in this game. At least for me, I have found out it is. And then the upside will take care of itself in the long run, because I can always stay on my A game no matter how much I lost on or won yesterday, right?
Part of what you said, so it sounds like your position sizing is factors in the number of trades that you would have in a given session.
Yes.
Well, what other factors do you contribute to position sizing, or how you would position size? And I'm also, well, let's go with that. Let's go with that first.
Okay. It depends a lot on volatility, of course. As a day trader, I'm constantly hunting for volatility, because if stuff doesn't move, I cannot make money. So whenever I see a big mover day, for example, I get up in the morning, Asian session is done, the pair has already moved 0.5, 0.6%, which is a lot in Forex. It's ridiculously small for people that trade penny stocks or whatever, where a stock can move 200% in a day. Forex 0.5 is a big move. And when I see that, for example, and my other indicators and my watch list preparation tells me this is going to be likely a bigger move, I'm also going to bet bigger, right? Because that day I can very likely, when things are moving, my win rate goes up, my reward goes up, and my risk pretty much stays the same, because I always have the same stop loss distance. So on those days, I will definitely scale up. Also, when I'm running good, when I'm having a good run, sometimes I think that's especially important as a day trader. You simply feel the market. It's hard to explain. Like, you just get in the flow, and you feel like you can see through the matrix. And I had that same experience in poker sometimes, where I looked at my opponent and I knew what cards he had on his hands. I didn't need to see them. I knew what it was. So in that times, obviously, want to extract maximum value from the market. And then I play with the market money, so to speak. So I'm basically trading my P&L, which is not always bad. It can also be a good thing when you're up. So when I'm making money, I increase my risk. When I'm losing money, I decrease my risk. That's just the best way I have found for myself to really scale up quickly.
So when you're in that flow state and you're seeing the market and you're scaling up and more money is coming in, eventually that comes to an end, right? Like there's some point where like, or I don't want to assume, like, is there a point where you're seeing or you think that you see something developing and then all of a sudden like what you thought you saw just kind of goes against you? Or are you having more of that, you're starting to see things change and you're therefore scaling back?
Yeah, sometimes you when you're in a position and it's running and you see the market slow down, then you can slowly scale out of the position, for example. Other times related to a week, for example, the Monday to Wednesday went really well. Thursday was a bit like a small loss, and Friday you're starting the day with a loss as well. Sometimes I will just cut off my trading completely because I don't want to ruin my week, and I want to go into the weekend with a positive mindset, so I can come back on Monday with a fresh mind and don't think about, oh man, I ruined that whole week with a stupid trading day on Friday. That's just not how it works, right? So yeah, when price is slowing down, you should definitely scale down. When the volatility dies down, go with a smaller position size, then try some startup positions. You can absolutely do that as well. And as soon as things start moving in your direction again, just scale in as much as possible, right?
How quickly would you say that you start scaling your position up, and how quickly would you start scaling it back down if things stop working?
Yeah, so for example, when I'm 2R, so R multiple, I think most listeners know that concept. It's basically one distance to your stop loss. When I'm up 2R, for example, and the trade is going my direction, I will often double position. And when I'm up another 2R, I will double the position again and just that way ride it up. And then as soon as it hits a resistance or support on the chart, which I pre-identified, or it slows down just in price action, or sometimes my session comes to an end and I'm saying I don't have energy anymore, I can't concentrate anymore, it's been 3 hours looking at charts. That's when I will take half off, pull up my stops and let the rest ride until the end of the session, for example. Sometimes I can turn a day trade into a swing trade when, for example, the daily chart looks really favorable. For example, I have a tight daily range, and then I'm trading the day trading the session, and during that session it breaks out of that range. So now the daily chart looks very bullish, for example. Very often I will take that position home overnight and ride it for a few days. Just
Is
trading
that
the
something
stock.
that you learned how to do later on, or is that because that sounds like a pretty advanced tactic?
Yeah, it's trade management was my biggest problem by far. Starting out, I was cutting my winners way too quickly. I was getting in and out of. I was getting out of trades way too quickly. Even when I got into a 2 or 3 pips drawdown. I got out. So trade management was really a huge problem for me, and it's now one of the strongest parts of my game because I focused all my efforts on that. My entries were always okay, not the best, not the worst, but good enough. But my trade management always cost me a lot of money. So I focused on that for 2 years at least to really get to the point where I said, okay, I'm satisfied. I'm not making a lot of mistakes anymore.
Is that one of the reasons you develop Edgewonk, or to come up with a trading journal so that you can help to track that success, or like where you were hitting those roadblocks along the way?
Yeah, definitely. A trading journal was a must-have for me from the beginning. And when I figured out what the weakest part of my game was, that was the first part that the journal really helped me with, figuring out where I was bleeding money all the time, and then figuring out how to improve that. So, for example, in H1 we have that stat, one of my favorite stats, whether your take profit was hit or not, your original take profit when you get into the position, and then it compares that to your trade management. So if you get out before your take profit was hit, in the long run, is that a profitable or a non-profitable action that you take in your trade management? And a lot of people will quickly see that trading set and forget strategies is more profitable for them than interfering with their trade too much in the beginning. And that's the first thing. So I saw that all my entries were good. My stop loss take profits were set in the right place, but I was costing myself a lot of money with interfering with the trade. So first I started actually trading set and forget strategies where I didn't touch the trade at all after I opened it. And once I became proficient with that, then I started looking into the trades, what they did after my take profit was hit. So I would come back to the chart 5 days later and see actually this thing moved up another 2 or 3% from my entry, from my exit, and I could have made much more money on that. So that's then when I started looking into actively managing those trades that really work in my favor, because I saw a lot of potential there by scaling in, letting them run. Yeah.
I love that you had that awareness of realizing that like you had to go back and like really look into those trades and see like what was working, what wasn't working, and the things that you maybe thought weren't working actually were giving you the most success. So I think that that's so interesting.
Yeah, it's that's what I also say to anyone that I am teaching or mentoring. First, we have to plug your leaks because that's really what makes the biggest difference. There are so many things that are easily fixed, to really get on a baseline level of profitability. Not much, but you're not losing money anymore. And then once you reach that level, you can really build on top of that and really make some profit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sounds a lot like it's like no. First, you need to learn the rules, and then you can learn how to break the rules. So that way, you're breaking them in a proper way that's not going to break you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And the most important principle here is simply like bet more money when you are making money. Right. That's really what helps my trading a lot.
Yeah, well, that's been a recurring theme for myself too recently. Like it's almost like when you're ready to hear something like the signs just start popping up everywhere, right? Like you're mentioning that I just several books that I've been reading recently have that like that was another sign that's been kind of popping up more recently lately. So it's interesting, yeah. The scale up when things are going well, and scale down when they're not.
Yeah, I mean, gamblers use that Kelly criterion since they started using it in the 60s or so on the horse racing tracks. And obviously, Kelly criterion is more useful when with a portfolio approach, because eventually it's going to tell you, okay, you have to on your next trade you have to bet 20% of your bankroll, which is ridiculous. But it's not that ridiculous in a portfolio approach. So you have to develop your own mechanics to bet more money when it's going well, and it should be very mechanical actually. Yeah.
So when gamblers lose their shirt, it's because they keep betting when they shouldn't be because they keep losing, and they're like, the next one's going to be the big win. The next one's going to be the big win, but they should just cut their losses while they're ahead. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So, one of the things that we had as for a topic was finding clarity about what you want from trading. How does somebody go about finding what they want from trading?
It's very hard to give an answer to that because I struggled with that myself for many years.
How did you do it?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it was very easy because my main purpose was to get out of my job. But once I had done that, then my main focus was to level up my lifestyle. But there comes a certain threshold where making more money doesn't add a lot of value to your life anymore. So, I mean, if you're making 10K, 20K a month, there's no difference to making 50K a month. It just gives perceived security, or maybe if you have kids, you can give them some money or open a fund for them. But the point is that making more money at one point didn't feel satisfying anymore. And I really love trading, the process of it, the intellectual stimulation. When a plan works out, it feels amazing. But I felt like I wasn't really giving anything back to society, right? So I was struggling with that for a long time, for example. But I also knew that I didn't want to do anything else as a job, because I definitely didn't want to go back into a corporation. Horrible, right? I definitely didn't want to, I don't know, I just wanted to do something with trading, right? So I needed to find a new purpose that would really drive me, a new why, so to speak. And I think that's super important, not for retail traders that are just starting out, because I think the motivation for everyone is always the same. They want to get out of the rat race, right? Always. And of course, some people, they are also getting into trading for the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris and so on. I couldn't say I didn't. But once you reach that freedom, you need to find a new purpose, a new why. Right? And that's super important. Otherwise, your P&L is going to suffer. You need to feel like you're part of something bigger, right?
I think this is so true for Mike and I too. We completely understand that. We both were in corporate America for a long time and realized that, like that wasn't the life we wanted. We wanted to pursue our passions, and they're great. There is something more. Of course, making money is great, but there is a deeper and a more fulfilling purpose for all of us, and we just have to find out what that is for each and every one of us. You're right, and maybe trading is one way to get there.
I think and that's the beauty of trading, because there are so many different ways of trading. So you can always find a way to trade that really satisfies your needs. For example, if you want to spend more time with your family, you have to find a trading style that maybe only requires 1 hour per day of you to maintain, makes, I don't know, 20-25% a year, and with small drawdowns. That could be the holy grail for you. It could be a nightmare for another person that wants to day trade 3 hours per day and then go to bed flat and travel the world, for example. So there's really a way for everyone in trading to really find and have a fulfilling life. And that's what I think is so cool about trading. So if you, at the moment, one of the listeners feels like maybe this is not for me, don't give up yet. I really think that you can find a trading style that really is your way to fulfillment, and at the same time generates good money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like figuring out your why is important, and figuring out what you're able to execute well, too.
Yeah, definitely.
And the goal, and it's like that cross section where, like, if you're looking at a Venn diagram, that little section in the middle there, that's where you want to be. So you figure out your why, you figure out what it is that you want, and then you focus only on that. And so you had mentioned when we were speaking earlier at one point back and forth in emails that this is what's called essentialism, right? Like, can you well, what's your definition of essentialism?
Well, it's I think the term was coined by Greg McKeown in his book. It's called Essentialism. It's not that old, and that's when I first saw that philosophy. And basically, it just says that you have to stop trying to do everything. And that will ultimately lead to a much more fulfilling experience in your life. So you cannot be a trader and a musician and a world traveler and an entrepreneur all at the same time. You're going to move in a lot of directions and never make any meaningful progress in the end. And especially me, I have a ton of interests, really, and I always have to remind myself that I just can't do it all, right? So when I finally found the trading style that was really actually fulfilling for me and fulfilled my purpose, I felt no need to do anything else. I simply dropped everything left, right, center, and I only focused on that. And that's also what gave me the success in the end. So that essentialism is basically means you really have to know what you want from trading, what you want from life, what you want to give back, and then you focus only on that, and that's going to be your mission in life. And it's going to take time. I mean, it took me 10 years roughly, so I
You
think
gotta start somewhere, right? You gotta start now.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Today's the day.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you start with the one thing that you want to focus on. You focus on that until you reach some level of, I guess, what's satisfying to you, right? And that's going to be that answer is going to be different for everybody. Like, well, what their level of satisfaction is, and then once you reach that, are you then able to transition to something else and like you kind of have a machine going that's it.
Yeah, it works like that. I mean, it's a moving target basically. So my purpose now is totally different from my purpose 10 years ago. And in 10 years later, I'm going to have a totally different life purpose again. Maybe I have a family then and so on. But for each phase of your life, you totally have to know absolutely 100% what you want from that phase of your life. Otherwise, you're just not going to make any meaningful progress. You're going to wake up in the morning without a purpose. You're going to feel like, why do I even exist? Right? That classic feeling of what does life mean after all? And it's a moving target. And a lot of people, obviously, they get into that midlife crisis when they are 40, because what did they do for the first 40 years? And they were living basically the I don't know, the modern society's dream of house, family, university, and so on, mortgage, blah, blah, blah. Then the kids move out, they go to university. Then you're sitting in your house when you're 40, 45. You still have 40 years to go. What's next? So that's where people go into that midlife crisis. They start driving Harley Davidson, buying a guitar, and so on, looking for the new purpose in life. And I think for myself, it's just a moving target. It always moves. And once you get to a certain stage, you have to be very careful not to fall into that dark hole and like not knowing what your life purpose is. Right?
And Moritz, I think a lot of people, especially on that path where, maybe they do dream of trading or doing something else with their life, but they feel stuck, like they're trapped in this, like you said, they went to the rat race, like they can't get out of it. What's one small step that they can do today or even this week that they can kind of like start breaking out of that of feeling stuck and feeling like they can't try something new?
I think the first thing they have to fix is their perspective. Because feeling stuck is only really a way of thinking in the end. You're not really stuck. Maybe you have, demands from other people. Maybe you have a family and so on, and you feel like there's nothing you can do. But that's just a lie that you're telling yourself. You can always do something to change your situation. So if you cannot really get that, that's the first thing you have to change, is to change your mindset to really looking at your life from the outside, looking at it with perspective. Actually, a lot of things are going my way in life. Like I have a good job that pays for my trading losses. I have a loving family. I have parents. Everyone can find something in their life that is really worth living for and that they should be grateful for. And once you really operate from that state of mind, which is just being grateful for even having the ability to trade, to click a mouse and potentially make money with it is ridiculous, right? You should be grateful even for that. Once you are
Go
in
back
that,
20 years, right?
yeah, it's ridiculous. Or 100 years even, when people were dying from, I don't know, working in a coal mine or so. It's just an amazing time to be alive. And once you really feel like that, that's okay, my life actually is not that bad. I'm not stuck. I have a ton of things that are going well for me. I have a ton of choice. I can actually live the life that I really want. But important is that it's a moving target, firstly, and it's a process. So you should never fall into the trap of thinking, when I get there, I'm going to be happy. You have to be happy first, truly, and then you can make money trading. It's never going to happen that you think, when I make my first $1 million in trading, I'm going to be happy. That's going to create so much frustration that every losing trade is going to destroy you mentally completely. Right.
I love that you said that, because it took me a long time to realize that, like, things or people can't make you happy. You have to make yourself happy. It comes from within. And I think that I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I think that a lot of traders, you said, may be going into this thinking, I'm going to get the Ferrari, I'm going to get the yacht, and then I'll find happiness.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Like, it
Not
might
at
make
all.
you temporarily happy. I would be very happy, like, riding my yacht around the world, but like, it's not going to sustain you. Like, it has to come from within, and you have to do the hard work to find that for yourself too.
Yeah, always. Like, as long as you can wake up with a smile in the morning and just be very happy that you get to live another day and you get to work on achieving your dreams. What's the reason for not being happy, right?
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about AI-assisted trading and automating the process?
Yeah, that's
Are robots taking over the world?
Good enough.
well, maybe at some point. Well, it wouldn't be the worst scenario, actually, if we could give the most horrible jobs in the world to robots and let the humans really enjoy their lives, right? But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
I'm waiting for the robot chef to come and make dinner every night. One day.
Yeah, but wash the dishes, maybe. That's good.
Yes, that's true.
Rosie from the Jetsons, remember that?
I know, where's
Yeah.
Rosie? We need Rosie.
Yeah, so AI-assisted trading, it was born out of my curiosity and the need to improve my lifestyle as well as my well-being. Basically, what it does for me is that it helps me automate a lot of processes that otherwise would take a lot of work.
Mm.
It takes a lot of guesswork out of my trading as well. And I'm not the biggest fan of fully automated trading, but because systematic discretionary traders still make the best performance, especially on the retail level. But what the AI does that we created, for example, that we use in our trading, is it gives you an idea. So it analyzes the chart based on a certain pattern that we developed. And after that pattern is recognized, it gives me an alarm. And then I can go to the chart and do my analysis and think, should I take the trade or not? Right. So basically, I have that statistics-backed signal that comes from millions of trades that we analyzed before, tons of data points, and it gives you the confidence that, okay, my the probability that this is going to work out in my favor is already skewed to my side. And when I add on top of that the power of my own brain, the pattern recognition, everything, that really turns into a powerful trading tool that also helps you save a lot of time on the other side. Yeah.
Wow. So, well, when it's taking the guesswork out loud, like, so what what would be some of the guesswork that it's taking out? Like, is it that statistical part that like you're seeing that this is the potential that this trade would work? Like, there's a certain probability, or
Yeah, basically, it's in the simplest form, you could say it's like a moving average crossover. For example, that would be the simplest form of the signal, of course. A moving average A crosses moving average B, you get an alarm on your chart. Obviously, the AI is much more complicated than that, but that's what it does. And basically, it says, okay, this situation happened thousands of times before, and whenever that happened, with that and that probability, this happened. So that's what we are doing with Pattern Alpha. Basically, it just analyzes the charts 24/7, and when it recognizes a situation on a chart that potentially sets up for a great trade, it will give you a signal, and then it's not a signal, it's a trade idea. You still have to do your own due diligence, absolutely. But if you do that, it becomes a really powerful tool.
wow. Well, what markets does it look at?
100% Forex at the moment, because yeah, I'm a Forex trader. That's where my expertise lies, and that's where I can say it really makes sense to develop an AI, because obviously stocks is a huge universe, and I don't have too much clue about that. And FX is just that's my territory.
Have you
All right.
seen that it was successful, like after like it gave you that signal on the chart? Like, did you see like after a few days or weeks later that it was an accurate portrayal of what was going to happen in the market?
Yeah, you can analyze all the signals historically. You can go back to old signals, see how they played out. You can see how the performance is on our website as well. If you took every trade idea without adding your own analysis on top of it, how that would have played out with a potential equity curve. Yeah, so basically it's maybe like a second brain, I would say. It's like in the hedge funds, people have analysts and they pitch them ideas all the time, or tell them, hey, this stock is cheap now, this is overbought, and this is basically your own personal analyst, and it does a lot of the work for you. So that's really cool. I love that tool.
No, it sounds awesome. Really awesome.
It really does. From the earlier part in the conversation when we were talking about position sizing and risk management, is that coming as part of Pattern Alpha? Will it give those kind of recommendations as well?
No, we are legally not allowed to tell people how much they should bet on any trade. Obviously, yeah, we are not a licensed how to say yeah, we are not a money advisor at all, right?
Okay.
So it's basically just a trade idea generation tool, and then what you do with the trade ideas is entirely up to you. But I can just say I'm using it in my own trading, and it's just has made my life a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Like just to be able to find ideas like this that are well, without having to scroll through endless charts.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm trading the 28 majors in Forex, and usually my process was like, okay, get up 7:30, do your watch list, then for 3 to 4 hours, stay glued to the charts and look at them 100% focused. And now, all I'm doing in the morning is to wait what Pattern Alpha basically has spit out for this particular strategy, and then I set my alarms, and I can do other stuff, emails and my longer term trades, for example. And then as soon as the alarms go off, I can get into it.
Well, so how much time would you say that it saves you each week?
20 hours. No, at least 20 hours.
That's like a part-time job.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's just a lot of resources that I
Pattern
can
Alpha's
use
gonna be all of our
otherwise.
best friends. Saving us 20 hours.
yeah, if you're a forex trader and you can make it fit with your trading style, then definitely, yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna say if anybody has any questions for Moritz, I am manning the chat as well as the Q&A. Feel free to put in your questions, and I'll be able to share it with Moritz. So feel free to write it in now if you have any.
Yeah, that absolutely. I was going to say the same thing to people, so thank you for chiming in with that too. But man, a pattern alpha just seems amazing. Like, well, when, what's the next things like on the horizon for it? Like that, like there's things coming out with pattern alpha that you would also mention something that's new that's coming out to Edgewonk when we were emailing back and forth too. So like I'd love to hear about that as well.
Yeah, so Edgewonk actually this Friday, so in 3 days, we are going to release version 3.0, which is going to be a huge step up from Edgewonk 2. Edgewonk 2 is an app that you install on your computer, basically a trading journal. And Edgewonk 3 is going to be 100% browser-based, so you can access your data from anywhere. It's obviously 100% encrypted, so your data is safe. It's going to have all the features from Edgewonk 2, and we are going to build on top of that a lot of new exciting features that are going to really be a game changer, I think, for people that journal their trades and do their own due diligence. It's not going to analyze your trades and say, hey, you have to do this or you have to do that, because we don't know your strategy. You still have to do a lot of input yourself. And if you really put in the time, it's going to really help you boost your performance. And Edgewonk 3 is just, it's our baby. We have put a lot of time, sweat, and money into it, and I hope people will love it. Yeah, we did a beta test with some people, very good feedback so far. Yeah, so I'm a bit nervous about Friday and excited. It's gonna be a cool day.
Yeah, I've heard some pretty good things about it too. One of our elite members is one of the beta testers.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice.
Are you able to tell us? Are you able to let the cat out of the bag a little bit on some of these features that might be coming? Can you give us one?
One feature that I wanted for a long time and that we are finally able to do now is a community hub. So, for example, if you are a mentor and you have students, you can get access to their journal via mentor access, so read-only access. Which is really cool. Another thing we are going to build is that people have the ability to share their trades on Twitter. They can share their performance metrics if they want to show off their equity curve, stuff like that. So that's going to be really cool and help us to gain more traction as well, of course. And also, I think it's a really cool feature for people. And we want to add gamification, which is also going to be one of those things like, oh, you just journaled 20 trades, you unlocked a new feature. Or last month you made 3%. Well done, you're getting this and that badge. And it's just supposed to make journaling fun and motivating, as opposed to having a boring Excel file, which is very dry.
Yeah,
You heard it first here, guys, on the Traders MINDCHAT show.
that was one of the reasons why I love Edgewonk so much too. Like I've tested a lot of different journals, and the UI is gorgeous, and it makes journaling like a pleasure versus something that like it something that's just like a spreadsheet or looks like Windows 95.
Thanks, man.
Okay, we have a question from Anna. She says, thank you for this webinar. She says she was a really great trader, but then a family member had passed away, and it sounds like since then, like her mindset hasn't been into it, hasn't been making money. She lost a ton last year. Any ideas if she wants to develop a new trading algorithm, like any success fully automating on your end, or do you always recommend a combined approach?
Okay. First condolences, of course. Secondly, I think that whatever you want to do with your trading, as I said before, you have to ask for your why. Why do you, if it worked really well for you before that loss happened, and now it doesn't anymore, then I think the solution is not choosing a different trading route, because trading fully automatic or fully automated is also comes with its own challenges, psychological challenges, of course. Plus, on top of that, it adds the challenge of learning how to code, statistics, and all that stuff. So it's a very different beast from trading manually. What I would suggest doing is first getting really to the bottom of why your old trading approach is not working anymore. And if you find out that everything is actually fine with you, you just don't want to look at charts anymore, but you still want to trade, then it's a good choice to look into automated trading, for example. Yeah. So always be very aware of why you want something and what you want, right?
And I think, I know, Mike, you mentioned this before to me, that when life changes, like I said, passing of a loved one, having a family, all these different things that can happen, your trading style will change, because like you said, if you were a day trader previously and now all of a sudden you have a baby and you can't dedicate all that time to, looking at the charts all day, as the baby screaming every 2 hours, like it sounds like this is something that is going to continue to evolve and change as life happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not something to be afraid of. Absolutely, it's always great to have a new challenge, to learn something new, to learn a new skill set. That's always something I'm really looking forward to when I really decide to start a new project. I really dig into it, and I have zero time for anything else. So if you feel that way, for example, about automated trading, and you really enjoy the process of learning how to code, it can be a very creative process, because as opposed to manual trading, where at most you're executing 3 to 4 or 5 strategies, with automated trading, you have to really come up with a new idea pretty much every day and test it. And it can be a very creative and fulfilling process as well.
Okay, great. That's all the questions from our guest today. So I'm going to throw it back over to you, Mike.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so Moritz, this has been amazing for you to be here and to chat with us for a bit. Is there anything any final words that you would like to give the audience? Any final messages?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, we all get into trading for the money, but in the end, we all have to find our own way of making it work for us. And one thing I really want to recommend, for example, is a book by Steenbarger, which he has for free on the internet, Brad Steenbarger, which is about the spirituality of trading. And I know that's a big word, and a lot of people are afraid of it. I myself, I'm not spiritual at all. I'm also not religious, but that book hits the nail on the head, really does. And
What's the title of it?
The title, you can find it on his website, Brad Steenbarger. Right. To be honest, I read it 3 times. Right now, I can't remember the title. I'm very sorry for that, but it's a great book.
It's all good. We'll figure it out, and we'll put it in the show notes. But yeah, I'm sure that if anybody goes to his website, or just even go to Amazon and type in Brett Steenbarger, you'll find it. One of his books that I'm actually listening to right now is the Daily Trading Coach, and it's freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, it is, and his work is awesome. We did a podcast with him as well, and he had some very profound knowledge. And in his book, he just writes how you can find meaning and purpose from trading, and how you can make it basically your way to become the best version of yourself. And that's just really, really cool. If you see trading as a vehicle of becoming the best version of yourself, then it can only work, right?
Absolutely. And can you tell us what are some of the best ways to get in contact with you or find out more information about what you have going on? Because, man, you are running 3 companies.
Yeah. So the where we are most active is YouTube. So youtube.com/tradeciety and youtube.com/edgewonk. That's where we are most active. And if you want to contact me personally, you can find me on Twitter as well. Simply go for TradeSociety MC as my handle, or Google or search for Moritz TradeSociety. My name will pop up, and you can send me a PM anytime. No problem.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thanks for having me.
It was amazing. Lots of great information. I can't wait to go back through, rewatch, and pull the highlights. There's got to be a few dozen.
Oh, I couldn't stop writing. This is amazing. Yeah, such a pleasure meeting you, Moritz. Thank you so much for taking the time today. We really appreciate it.
And thank you to the audience as well for joining us today.
Likewise.
All right, everybody. Take care. Much love. Peace out. Wow, I knew that having Moritz on would be awesome, but I didn't know that it would be that awesome.
I got so much out of that interview, and I just learned so much. What was one of the key highlights you got out of it?
Well, the whole part about position sizing and to bet more as you are as you're winning, right? Like so so that kind of ties into one of the other highlights too. Like when he's like you're kind of seeing into the matrix of the market and how that ties into well, if you're kind of seeing trades and things are working, that's when you want to scalp your size. But as you as trades stop working, because they're not going to continue to work all the time, as conditions change, you quickly change, and then that's when you start scaling back. Thought that was great.
Yeah.
How about you?
For me, I really liked how it tied back actually to what we were talking about earlier about finding clarity. That for Moritz, like for even after he started having so much success and making so much money, it wasn't giving him the satisfaction that he initially thought or the happiness that he was seeking. That he had to figure out his why again, and that he even said like your why is going to constantly change. And what your why is now is going to be very different from what it's going to be 10 years from now. And that these things like the fraud, maybe the things that you first wanted. What your why was to make money, to be able to afford all these great luxuries, was really didn't give him the happiness he thought, and that you have to revamp your why and find out what really is going to make you happy, and it's usually for a greater purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And another thing was the journaling. That's one of the reasons that he even started Edgewonk, was because he realized how important journaling was for his trading, to figure out what works, what doesn't work. I love that we got that inside scoop about Edgewonk 3.0. I know you're excited to use it.
Yeah, I can't wait to check it out either. So,
yeah, no, it's great. So for the full list of the key highlights, be sure to check out marwealth.com. We'll have it listed out for you there. And hope you guys enjoyed the show. This was so much fun.
Yes, it definitely was. And we hope that you got a lot out of it. Now take it and run with it.
See you next time. Bye.
Take care.